Hey everyone, out in Periscope land, my name's Steve Barrett, Editor-in-Chief of PRWeek. We're about to record our weekly podcast, and as you may know, we now Periscope this fantastic process. You're right there, Lindsay? So if there's anyone watching, I hope you enjoy it. It'll last about 20 minutes, and you can see behind the scenes what goes on, the high level of technology that we use for all this process, and whatever else you want to get out of the experience. So we've got Lindsay Stein here, Frank Washkook, Diana Bradley from the team. Massively busy week, so we're going to get straight into it. But if you've got any comments, please, or questions, we will try and incorporate them in the show. That's the point of Periscope, so let's see if we can get a bit of that going. Web editor Byron is in charge. He's on the other side of the camera. There he is. Web editor Byron, nothing's coming up on my phone. What's...
Frank, are you getting anything on your phone?
No, I'm not getting anything.
There are people joining right now.
Hello, people.
There are 7 people joined right now. If you go to the PRWeek Twitter account, the most recent tweet should be a link directly here, and it'll open in your iPhone app.
Let's do that. The PRWeek Twitter account.
Yeah.
You just go to the page, go to like the page.
Hi, Frank.
Oh,
We're in, aren't we?
Yes.
Normally I get an alert to...
We got a wonderful hello from Kansas City.
Oh, hello, Kansas City.
Hello, Kansas City. Lovely place, actually.
Really?
Which Kansas City are there two?
There are 2. I'm guessing it's Missouri. It's the bigger one.
Oh, that's not nice.
Am I in?
You are in.
Oh, there they are. There's me. Turn the volume down so we don't have it in stereo. Okay. Alright, so we're off. We're going to record our podcast, and you can see how we do it. If you've got any questions on the topics on Periscope, please shout out. Give us lots of hearts. Makes us feel important. And, someone from Jersey City. Hello there.
Oh, yeah, Jersey City.
If you've got questions on the topics, we'll try and incorporate them in the show, and off we go. So, hello and welcome to the PRWeek, PRWeek's regular weekly roundup of everything that matters in the worlds of PR and communications. My name's Steve Barrett. I'm the Editor-in-Chief of PRWeek. We have got a packed show for you this week, listeners, so we're going to get straight into it. We're periscoping again, or peri-podcasting as we call it, so if we get any questions from Periscope, we'll try and incorporate them in the show. If you're listening to this on catch-up, that probably doesn't mean much to you, but hopefully you will get some questions in there. So we're going to talk about Procter & Gamble. They've expanded their comms team and brought some new directors into that level. Interesting stuff. Volkswagen, not had a great week, has it? In crisis, lost their CEO. We'll talk about that, a recall crisis. Craig Rothenberg, ex-J&J, he got a new job at Turing Pharmaceuticals, and if you've been following the news, Turing has been in the news recently, and Craig has decided that gig wasn't quite what he thought it would be, so he's stepped down. Alibaba, Jim Wilkinson, head of comms over there, he sent a 2,000-word letter to Barron's questioning the way they were assessing his firm, Alibaba, and the share price and the impact on it. So we'll talk about that as a comms strategy. Richard Edelman, he's going to split his time between New York and Chicago. Chicago is where he was born and brought up, I believe, but also where Edelman historically was based, and then of course they moved to New York, and Richard was instrumental in building them here. But now he's going to split his time between the two cities. We'll find out about an interesting new hire at Weber, Vivian Schiller, who used to be head of content at Twitter. And then there's things like the Pope is in the country, President Xi from China's in the country, we've got the Clinton Global Initiative, we've got the UN, we've got horrendous traffic in New York City, we've got so much to talk about. Who have we got here? We've got Frank Washkook, who's our news editor. Frank, welcome.
Thrilled to be here as always, Steve.
Yeah, well, thrilled to have you here. Your namesake, the Pope Francis, is in the country. That must be exciting for you.
He's in Washington. He'll be in New York tomorrow.
Yeah, we're all looking forward to him coming here, aren't we?
Can you be the Pope for Halloween?
Why not?
Maybe we could do it.
Oh, me personally?
Yeah, you personally.
I don't partake in Halloween. It's facile.
Facile. That means easy in French.
You just want to use that word.
Facile. The traffic's terrible, yes, we know it is. Don't
It'll
go
be
uptown.
even worse
It's
tomorrow.
going to be worse tomorrow. Don't go uptown. Couldn't get a cab this morning. I think the cabbies have decided not to bother coming into town. We've got Lindsay Stein with us, our senior reporter specialising in consumer. Hey Lindsay,
Hello.
how are you?
I'm great. Busy?
Fresh from her triumphant appearance as the, what do you call it, the presenter of the 40 Under 40 dinner. Thought you did a fantastic job.
Thank you. Had a good
Keeping
time.
a very noisy audience in
Had to
in
shut
check.
some of it.
You did.
You had your drinks.
They had the drinks were drunk. It was a great night and a great conference, by the way. We haven't really got time to talk about that, which is a shame, but it was a fantastic day and evening. And we've got Diana Bradley, our corporate reporter and star reporter, one of the highest producers of traffic on the PRWeek team, according to the analytics. And of course, we all live our life by those analytics these days. Diana, how do you do it?
I can't give away my tricks.
Ah, okay. Being a bit cagey about that. But yeah, anyway, producing some great stuff for it. Should we get straight into it? Let's talk about Procter & Gamble, Lindsay. They have kind of reorged their comms team, the senior level of it, haven't they? And that's in light of them saying that they're going to sell off 100 of their brands, and they've already started that with the Coty sale and the Duracell sale. And also that they want to save $500 million on agency fees. So yeah, tell us all about it.
So, for those of you who know Paul Fox, he was the director of corporate communications at P&G, and now he's moved into a new role. It's going to be director of M&A communications, and that's in light of all of these changes, like the selling of the
It's 100 brands to
and
sell,
the
yeah.
43, yeah. So there's going to be a lot going on in that area. So stepping into his role is Damon Jones. Damon was the head of communications in Asia for P&G and moved from Singapore for this role. He's back in Cincinnati. What's interesting, which I put in the story, is he started his career in Cincinnati, but then he went all over. He's been like in Geneva for P&G, London, Boston. So
Fantastic.
now he's
So he was at Boston at Gillette, was he?
yeah. That's actually how I first started talking to him about 4 years ago for a Gillette story.
Great.
But anyway, so there were two directors of in this their company communications team underneath Craig Buchholz, who is the VP of company communications, and now there's 5. Let's see if you want me to go through the...
Very quickly, Lindsay, yeah.
All right. So Patrick Blair is going to be the director of internal communications. Greg Eisenhower was the other of the two with Paul before, and with the restructure, he's going to be he's going to be director of executive communications, which focuses on speech writing and content development. And then the last one is Antonio Boadas, who was the communications director for India, the Middle East, and Africa, and he's still going to be doing that, but now he's also taking on the role of director of global operations. So lots of changes there, but they say it's to strengthen their communications because it's more important than ever now. He said it's the most significant transformation in P&G's history, with becoming a leaner, focusing on their core brands.
Yeah, interesting stuff. And they all report into Craig, and then Craig and Kelly Vanass, but Kelly looks after global brands. They both report into Mark Pritchard, who's head of brand. They don't call him CMO, do they? And he reports to the CEO. So yeah, interesting stuff at P&G. Nice story, Lindsay. We'll see how they get on, and congrats to all involved.
Just to say with Damon, it's just that Damon is he's also African American, so it's a nice for the we've been talking about diversity issues in the industry. So it's nice to see a man of color in this high position.
Absolutely,
so,
very much so.
Another thing for P&G there.
Yeah, well done, Damon. Okay, so VW, Diana, they've had a bad week, haven't they?
Yeah, that's an understatement.
Yeah. So first, with German Auto, it was the Frankfurt Motor Show, wasn't it, a week or two ago, and the BMW CEO fell over, didn't he? Sort of collapsed. And then now, I think he's okay. He's just...
I think he just was a little stressed out.
Stressed out, okay. And then now VW, they've had this issue, and the CEO's resigned. Talk us through it, Diana.
Yeah, basically it came to light that Volkswagen's diesel cars have software installed that helps them to cheat U.S. emissions regulations. So the company initially, it's kind of been a strange week, the way that they've been, dealing with it.
He
and
kind
the way the
of
information's
apologised,
coming
didn't he,
out.
the CEO?
Yeah, I mean, first they said less than 500,000 cars in the U.S. Had this equipment, and then that number grew to 11 million cars worldwide. And the communications team, to be fair, there has really been trying. The company's executives have apologized several times at events and on video and in conferences and statements. But an apology does not cut it in this case, a lot of PR pros are saying. And the company basically needs to really show that it plans to change and how it's going to do that. I also think it's really good that the CEO has stepped down, and that's something that PR pros told us earlier in the week. And that was also
that he had to go before he.
Yeah, and there was like a strange thing earlier this week where a German paper reported that he was being replaced, and then the company denied it, and then it finally came to light that he was indeed departing. So it's been kind of a strange.
And is that him taking responsibility for what's happened, or is it him not reacting very well to the crisis and his response to it?
Yeah, it could be either way, but it's really now. We had Laura O'Connell of Instinctive Partners. She wrote a blog post on our site this week, and I really like what she said. She said that really now what matters is that stakeholders across the spectrum, from consumers to investors and governments, will each need phenomenally dedicated action to rebuild their trust and to stop people from wondering what else do we not know about, because now people, all the trust is totally broken with this company.
Well, the other thing is, is it confined to VW? I mean, is this going to spread to other autos? Is it going to emerge that actually they've all been doing it? Because it wouldn't be the biggest surprise in the world, would it?
Yeah.
So I don't think there's going to be any people sort of taking any joy in VW's misfortune here, because potentially it could spread. But so that'll be interesting to follow.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if other automakers are now going to start communicating about this and showing their efforts.
Yeah, Frank, it's all about this thing about apologising, isn't it? And we've got a piece coming up next week on that, because there's been a few instances recently.
Yes, we do. This is a very notable apology. The Home Depot apology was something that was talked about a lot last week at the PRWeek conference, and I think that really worked for them. If you look at how they limited the damage from their pretty big data breach. There's another interesting aspect, I think, to the Volkswagen crisis, and that I think it could hurt Volkswagen more than a different car company, because they really sell their technology. They really go out and say, look, we have this wonderful, efficient German high-technology car, and that's one of their big selling points. Mm-hmm. And so now if they have to basically come out and say, it's not really that much different than anybody else's, that's a bad look for them.
I used to drive a Volkswagen Beetle, one of my first cars. I remember it very fondly. It was great. It was orange.
Wow.
Yeah, so I hammered it into the dust basically as a kid, driving it very recklessly. But anyway, there you go. That was my problem, not Volkswagen's, by the way. Actually, well, thanks, Diana. Yeah, another CEO who's been in the news is this guy at Turing Pharmaceuticals, isn't it, Lindsay? And interesting fellow. But J&J's former comms guy, Craig Rothenberg, had taken the role there as head of comms, and he, talk us through it anyway. Tell us the story. I don't want to steal your thunder.
I'll start off by saying that our reporter in DC wrote this, so Laura Nichols wrote this story. She actually also did a Q&A with the CCO Craig Rothenberg, who now has left. He joined Turing 2 months ago from Johnson & Johnson, and he stepped down on Monday, and that was one day after the New York Times reported that Turing, which recently acquired Duraprim, raised the price 5,000% per pill. I think it was something like from $1,350 to $750 per pill, which is a really big increase. So the day after that came out...
It's a 5,000% increase.
Yeah, everybody worked that out in the newsrooms, didn't they?
Yeah.
I think we're just telling the story, aren't we?
5,000. Some people said 5,500. But anyway, so he stepped down, and they are not saying why, if it's related to it, so it's completely amicable.
And his name's Martin Shkreli.
Oh, that's the CEO. The CCO is Craig Rothenberg. Yeah. The CEO, Martin
Shkreli, yeah.
Even before this came out, there wasn't the best press about Martin out there.
No, he's a fairly typical hedge fund guy, isn't he? Not unimpressed with himself, and fairly confident guy. I think that would be one way to describe him. Bit of a bro.
I think he might. I think I read he's 32. I could be wrong. At least in his early 30s.
Well, I'm going to take a contrary view here, Lindsay. I'm going to play devil's advocate. Actually, when you listen to his interview, the one on, I can't remember where was it. I think it was Bloomberg.
TV.
Actually, when you listen to what he said, there was some logic behind the reasoning. And he was saying basically it's way underpriced compared to other similar drugs in the market. You need to have a lot of money to invest in these drugs to keep them effective and evolve them. And whether that's right or wrong, I think he could have got that story over in a much better way if it wasn't for the way he presented it. You know, he came over in a very kind of arrogant way, didn't he?
He needed the CCO to be there.
Well, so yeah, I mean, so you know, I'd love to know from Craig whether Martin was just not taking the advice, or whether, you know, Scruddy's just he's out there and he's doing his own thing. You know, he does have some unfortunate ways of coming across which don't necessarily endear you to him. And he called a journalist a moron, didn't he, on Twitter? And he's you know, he's almost Trump-like in his he's almost beyond Trump-like in the way he's approaching it. But I actually, you know, I think someone else could have made the argument for it, and you know, if they presented it in the right way and done the due diligence and got the case ready and sort of approached it properly.
I think it's also about how you present yourself. Like when I was talking to Jason Zillow from the Yankees, he said if Jeter was to walk into a bank and rob a bank and it was on camera or something, no matter what, people would be like, oh my God, Jeter was doing it because there was a gun to his head, or he was doing it to save children, right? But if A-Rod did it, they'd immediately be like, A-Rod is such a, you know, bad word. Explosive word here. Like he did that on purpose, and we hate him because of the way he presented himself to the media.
Our sometime friend of the brand, Brendan Lewis, is a great fan of A-Rod, if you follow him on Twitter or Facebook. Yeah, no, interesting stuff. We'll see how that plays out, and you know, Craig, good luck to you going back to doing consultancy. We've had a little message in from a regular correspondent, Dan Kaplan, who's in on Periscope. Hello, Dan. And apparently his high school crush drove a Jetta, so a VW Jetta. So I'm sure we all wanted to know that.
Everyone put that in their notes.
You know, almost every girl.
We have another question from the audience about what are our thoughts on how the Volkswagen crisis has affected the reputation challenges faced by the German government. And that's interesting because there was a Wall Street Journal story on this morning, in that a lot of people believe that German ministers, government ministers, knew about this, that the software was installed, and they didn't do anything about it. So yes, it does have an effect on the German government.
This has got political implications, and you know, VW was, you know, that was the Beatles, kind of the people's car as well, wasn't it? And there was a lot of state involvement in it, coming out of the Second World War and all this sort of stuff. Yeah, interesting stuff. All right, we have to move on. We've got lots to talk about. Diana, Alibaba head of comms, Jim Wilkinson. You know, he's not been happy with the coverage Alibaba's getting. He thinks it's affecting that. Well, it is affecting their share price, and he thinks the company's being unfairly characterised. He wrote a piece to Barron's, but 2,000 words. This is an interesting way to do it, isn't it? Sometimes the comm strategy is to not respond at all. He's gone out there. He's written a 2,000 word. Was it a public letter?
Yeah, it was an open letter. It was a letter to the editor, but they also posted it on their blog and things like that. Yeah.
Over to you.
So yeah, Barron's, it's an investor magazine, just for anybody who's unsure about it. It's pretty small, but it's very influential, or so I'm told. And
it's not on your reading list.
yeah, no comments. But yeah, basically they decided to respond when Barron's wrote an article suggesting that Alibaba's stock could fall by a further 50%. Jim Wilkinson, he's Alibaba's SVP of International Corporate Affairs.
Used to be Pepsi.
Yes. Yeah. And he decided to fight back with a 2,000-word letter to the editor, which we thought was a very interesting strategy, because nowadays PR pros tend to respond with something short and to the point on social media or with some sort of infographic or video. So this was almost kind of old school, and when I asked Wilkinson why he chose this particular strategy, he explained that although attention spans are short in media cycles today, the facts still do matter. So they felt that it was important to be understated in their response and to let the financial data and facts tell their story for them. And he said that they wrote the letter specifically to be bland in nature.
Well, they succeeded in that. It's not an exciting letter.
Yeah, and he even said he admitted that most likely not every person in America sat down to read the letter. But he said for people like investors, analysts, media, and other key influencers, they were likely to read every single word very closely.
Which actually is really his audience, because if you think about it, Alibaba is not a consumer product really over here. The audience they're trying to reach here is people who determine the price of the shares. So it's analysts, it's the financial journalists, it's the people who. So that is his audience. So that's perfect. I guess that is a valid sort of strategy for him to follow. Whether that would be right for another brand, possibly not. But anyway, we'll see. We'll see if it's changed. Maybe it has actually.
I mean, it's definitely impacted media coverage.
Yeah, I think it has.
Publications, Business Insider, Yahoo Finance, The Street, Insider Monkey. They've written articles agreeing with Alibaba's assessment that Barron's story was significantly flawed. So
it's kind of tied into the Chinese economy, isn't it, and the financial situation. And are people overreacting? Is the financial thing just a bit of a rebalancing? Which there was a bubble, and so we'll see. We'll talk a bit more about that later. Thanks, Diana. Just very quickly, Frank, Richard Ellerman wrote a blog last Friday, didn't he, saying that he's going to now split his time between Chicago and New York. That's quite significant in a way, because he's been in New York for a lot of years now, leaving from there. So what do you think the impact will be?
I'm not sure that there will be an impact on their bottom line or with many clients. I'm sure there are clients in and around Chicago that are happy to see it. It is interesting the way he described it, and then sort of getting back to the soul of the company where it was founded, spending some time in his father's old office, which is something of a museum now. And it's an interesting move in that you have a real. The CEO of the biggest agency in the world is going to really, I don't want to say bilocate, but he's going to commute back and forth between Chicago and New York. So it'll be interesting to see what the impact is. I'm guessing it won't have much impact on the bottom line or with clients, but it could be good for morale in either or both cities too. So we'll see.
Yeah, the folks in Chicago are going to see more of Richard. So, Diana, back to you. Weber has hired Vivian Schiller. Now, Vivian's an interesting character. She was at Twitter, wasn't she? Sort of a head of content over there. And now she's gone over to Edinburgh. What's she going to be doing there? Is she full-time? Is it?
I don't know. They weren't able to tell me, the exact terms of, if she's full-time or part-time or if it's permanent or not. But she has joined them as the executive editor in residence. She will be based in Weber's Media Co. Content Consulting and Publishing Unit, and she'll report to Chris Perry, who's the newly minted Chief Digital Officer there.
Media Co.'s done really well for them, hasn't it?
Actually, I'm sorry, it is part-time.
I thought it was, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, it is part-time.
It's a very cool role, though. I mean, it's a real, I think it's a head-turning hire. Because she was very influential at Twitter. Whether anybody listened to her or not, we'll never know. But she had a great position at Tumblr, or at Twitter, I'm sorry. And she was CEO of NPR before that. And she really has an interesting background. Probably has a lot of great insights about how media works, where it's going, things like that. That's a cool hire for them.
Interesting to see such a senior media exec going into a PR firm. And another development of that Media Co engine, which seems to be doing really well for Weber. So good stuff. All right, let's wrap up, Frank, with all the other stuff.
It's a busy week here in New York, and it's a busy day in DC today. Washington was pretty much shut down yesterday. A lot of companies told their employees to stay home rather than brave the traffic and the lines and the shutdown streets and all of that with the Pope in town. The Pope will be here tomorrow. He will be meeting with people, I think, up at St. Patrick's Cathedral, and then doing an appearance in Central Park, and I want to say Madison Square Garden. It's a very busy week, too, with the Clinton Global Initiative. Starts this weekend and goes into next week.
Going to be appearing in Central Park with Beyonce?
I think those are separate events. I think so.
It's Beyonce and Coldplay, isn't it, this weekend?
And so a busy weekend for Central Park, too.
Absolutely.
People visiting and for tours and all that. And we also have the UN's General Assembly is next week, and I feel like I'm forgetting one, too. Oh, that's right. The Premier of China is also visiting the U.S. Really interesting thing in that he met with a lot of top technology executives from the U.S. yesterday. There's a great class photo type tweet floating around out there with Mark Zuckerberg and Tim Cook and Jeff Bezos.
Is it
and all
Seattle?
of those guys in it. Yes,
Yeah.
Seattle. And he is coming to Washington today or tomorrow, I want to say.
President Xi Jinping.
Xi Jinping, yes.
It seems to be coming over quite well so far, actually.
It seems that it went over well with technology executives yesterday. They said he promised he's going to keep China open, that levels of investment are going to stay about the same, and there are a lot of reports about whether the Chinese have reached an agreement with U.S. officials on piracy, which is a huge stumbling block with China every time officials from the two countries meet.
Yeah, absolutely. What did you think of the Pope's, we can throw this open if you like, what did you think of the Pope's choice of automobile, getting back to the automobile thing?
I drove a Fiat once and I did not feel safe in it. It was too small. No, seriously, it was just too small for me. And, look, he's obviously trying to send a message and that it's both environmentally friendly and a people's car, so to speak.
But then yesterday he reverted to a Ford saloon.
According to an article I read yesterday, he is in a Ford most of the time in Italy, and not Fiat. I would have thought it would have been the locally sourced Fiat, so to speak, but he's in a Ford most of the time in Italy.
Yeah, I saw footage of him stopping by the roadside. I saw a disabled guy, and he went over and laid hands on him, and everyone was going crazy. It was like very emotional for everyone, and then he gets back in his Fords. And off he goes. It was incredible. Probably a security nightmare. Probably everyone all following was going, what is going on? But yeah, interesting stuff.
Kim Kardashian tweeted?
I didn't, no.
She tweeted, said the Pope is dope.
Ah, well. I mean,
So she
I guess it's nice she has opinions on things, right?
It's difficult to argue with Kim, he's certainly a different type of Pope, he's getting people talking about issues and, interesting character, and obviously, it was kind of interesting to compare his arrival in America with his arrival in Cuba. It was very civilized, shall we say, in a little fenced-off area where people were greeting him and what have you. All right, well, listen, thanks everybody. It's been a very busy show. We've kept it to 25 minutes, Frank. That's probably a bit long for you. But don't forget our awards. If you haven't got your entries ready yet, you've got until October the 2nd. You've got just over a week to get going on that. You can also buy an extra week, pay a late entry fee, but please make sure you're working on those. I hope you're going to come to our Hall of Fame event. It's a dinner on December the 7th. We're honouring some fantastic PR pros like Gary Sheffer, Mike Fernandez, David Finn, Betsy Plank, Ginger Hardage, and Joel Frank. So do join us for that. And best places to work. If your agency is part of that programme, then please do make sure you're filling in the surveys. There's still a bit of time left to do that. And that again will be appearing in our December issue or around December. And next week, look out for Byron Kittle's extravaganza on the Innovation 50. A brilliant list of fantastic people, but we're going to be feeding that out over the week. Byron, tell us how we're going to do that over 5 days from behind the camera.
We're going to put up the first 10 on Sunday, along with one video from each batch of 10. Every single day we're going to put out 10 more in alphabetical order with a video with one of the people featured in that batch. So look for it going up on Sunday. We'll have some social push for it then also. We'll have 10 profiles plus one video every day, starting Sunday.
Sounds good, and they'll all be live by October the 1st. So brilliant list. Look out for that. All right, I think that's that. I think we're done. You're even getting bored on Periscope. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on the PR Week.
Thanks everybody out there who's watching.
Thank you, Peri Podcasters. Enjoyed having you with us and hope you enjoyed it.